mic on the way?
Mike should be there. Mike, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi. Noam.
So, are we ready to start? Yes. So, hello everybody, I'm Stéphanie Hospital from Ragtime. I'm an entrepreneur starting a venture fund and fundraising for that. So it's a new journey for me as before I was working in a big corporation. And I'm surrounded by fantastic entrepreneurs coming from all over the world, Europe, US, and Israel. So we have Simone. So maybe Simone, a very short introduction of who you are.
Hi, good morning to everybody. I'm Simone Ranucci Brandimarte. I'm Italian. My entrepreneurship career started in 1999 when I co-founded a company that have been listed in Italy and then sold to Docomo in 2010 for 300 million. And then I co-founded other two companies and I listed another one 2 years ago. 1 year ago, we took over Goswiff, that is now is the leader of mobile payment in emerging market, and we are working on make it big.
So we have Itay also coming from Israel. So what are you doing here?
Hi, I'm Itay Damati. I'm co-founder and CEO Asia at Leverate. Leverate is a B2B company providing turnkey solutions to FX brokers that are running their business online. We have 160 employees in 5 offices, and as the CEO Asia, I'm responsible for Hong Kong and Shanghai. I can tell you 2 different stories about how I found myself being an entrepreneur. I think that there is a romantic story and there is the reality.
So I guess that we will come back soon to the romantic story.
Okay.
So Noam?
My name is Noam Schwartz. I'm leading innovation in a company called SimilarWeb. For you that don't know SimilarWeb, we're the largest competitive intelligence data provider in the world. We basically can tell you what's going on in any website and any mobile app in the world. I got to SimilarWeb after my company was acquired. The company was called TapDog. It was in the competitive intelligence space as well. I'm very happy to be here in Singapore for the first time.
And then we have Mike. So Mike has been trained by maybe 2 of the best entrepreneurs of the world, Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer. So now you're yourself an entrepreneur with such an heritage.
Yes, I'm Mike Kennewick. I'm the CEO of Voicebox Technologies. We have developed, and we're probably among the first to develop, the natural language speech recognition technology that exists today in products like Siri. Our particular technology is embedded in a lot of automotive, mobile, and even home products. And we're not branded, so we're often an engine inside of those engines. As Stephanie said, I'm from Seattle, and I originated in Microsoft, and I've been through 2 major technology startups.
So how many of you are entrepreneurs in the room? Come on. Everybody should be an entrepreneur. This is the new way to go. But I'm missing something here. I'm missing 2 things. First of all, I'm missing a Singaporean entrepreneur. So we're in Singapore, and we have no one who has been grown up in Singapore. Okay, Simone is based in Singapore for 1 year, but so who is going to be the Singaporean entrepreneurs? Who come on stage with us?
There's an empty chair.
There's an empty chair for a Singaporean entrepreneurs, please. Nobody? As an entrepreneur, you should volunteer. We need to have.
In the audience.
Okay. So that's an issue maybe for entrepreneurial spirit in Singapore. And the other things I'm missing, but I should be representing that, is the woman part of being an entrepreneur. But we will assume that I represent that. I am, by the way. So Itay, you were speaking about your romantic story of being an entrepreneur. This is really what I want to hear.
Well, it's not reality.
Dream.
Okay. So a lot of people tell you that they got into this because they love creating, they love building an amazing team, competition, But that's not how some people got into the business. I got into the business because I was sharing a room in the Israeli army as a programmer with 3 friends. And all of them basically happened to want to do something. And of course, all of us have been through different ventures when we were teenagers. But I got the offer to join them when one of them got the offer to make something big for a businessman. And that didn't work out. But we decided that we need to do something together because we cannot keep a secret in the same room in the army. So we basically got into this, and in a long series of accidents, I just happened to fall deeper and deeper into the entrepreneurship world. And today I can say that I like it for all the reasons that I stated. I love building great teams. I love interacting with the best people. I like the joy of creation. But I think my story did not begin in the romantic way, just ended in a romantic way.
Yeah, it's a nice story. So you've been entrepreneurs by passion. I mean, Mike, you're from the US, so it's by nature the frontier world, the world where people were crazy enough to come to this country and to build new things. So how would you define the entrepreneurial spirit? What is for you being an entrepreneur, and what is essential to be in that space?
Well, I think it's a combination of a number of things. First, there's the individual has to have the capacity and the ambition to be an entrepreneur. So many of the romantic things that you just alluded to have to be a fundamental spirit. You have to want to build things. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be determined to solve problems that you can't foresee. But then there's also an opportunity. A lot of being an entrepreneur is recognizing when that opportunity comes. In your case, it was a group of soldiers talking. In my case, as Stephanie said, I was lucky enough that I was able to observe Microsoft at a very early stage. I was the 50th employee there, and I had a chance to work on a daily basis with Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer and Paul Allen. And so I was able to observe what they did as entrepreneurs. And I discovered that they have many of those attributes, and they had many of the challenges. And in many of the big companies, it was really a determination to overcome obstacles that were unforeseen in order to build something big. And they were able to do that. It was infectious to me, and I followed suit. And I think that exists with many, many people.
So you've been inspired in a way, and then you like it. Noam, Startup Nation, this is an inspiration for everybody now. We all want to be the smartest startup nation like Singapore. Europe also is dreaming of that, but what is it for you to be, or how the system, the political, what make of Israel such a country for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are asking this question, and it's hard to answer because it's very personal. The way you look at Startup Nation from the eyes as an Israeli, and when I thought about that concept, when like the book came out, and when everything started, I thought that there's about 3 elements here. There's Israelis are very optimistic in nature. They're very arrogant, and they all know each other. And so there's this kind of circle that you know someone who did a startup, and you think, hey, I can do that. And you're thinking that you're actually going to succeed, and then you're actually going to do it. And if you're lucky, you're succeeding. If you're not, you're not succeeding, and you're starting again. And that's what I think basically drives most of what's happening. In terms of the political environment and the educational environment, the educational system is encouraging to free thought, challenge you to do things that are unique. It's not about repeating and memorizing and reciting. It's more about creation. And I don't think it has something to do with the political system.
So we're dreaming of that in Europe. Simone, do you think that Europe could be a startup nation? I mean, you're European entrepreneurs, and you've been to Singapore to do your next business, right? striking, no?
Yeah, in general, today in Europe, there is the crisis is mostly due to the absence of awareness that this crisis is mostly due to a technology gap. So the quantity of new companies that are coming out in technology are not enough to balance the absence of jobs from traditional employments. So the technology is creating a shift. And is it necessary to increase quantity and quality of big technology companies, like is happening in the US, like mostly is happening in Israel? Europe is going in the right direction, but it's still quite slow, considering this for many reasons. There is not enough support from government institutions and capitals. And in Europe, there is a big fear of failing. So entrepreneurship is growing, but not enough due to the fact that people are afraid to fail. And the institution, the government, the system do not teach enough how failure is the real absence of entrepreneurship. You are a real entrepreneur where you failed, you learn, and you do it again and again. Europe is not like this. For many aspects, not yet Singapore is like that.
Well, I do have a slightly different opinion of Europe, and I do think that Europe is going to recover and be a place for technology startup. But it's striking because you selected yourself to move to Singapore to start your new business as a European, so must be something. Itay, you're in Hong Kong. Why Hong Kong and not Singapore? We're here in Singapore learning about the fantastic system that Singapore is putting in place to welcome entrepreneurs and multinationals. And you've been to Hong Kong.
Well, when you ask me about the future, I would say Singapore is a better place to start a business, probably in the next 15 years or so, because everybody knows what processes Hong Kong is going through with the dominance of China. But back in the day, I think Hong Kong was a very good choice for us because it was closer to China. So it's a good headquarters in Asia. To attack in a market sense, both China and Southeast Asia and other locations. So it pretty much worked for us. Today, about half of our customers in Asia are coming from mainland China. And so we had another plan to set a new branch in Shanghai, and we set it up 3 weeks ago. So now it's sort of redundancy between Hong Kong and Shanghai. As to why Hong Kong and not Shanghai in the beginning, I think that flights leave on time, which is great, unlike China. And I would say the people that you can find in Hong Kong are more Western in the culture, and it's easier to do business from the culture perspective, from the government perspective, and team building is a lot easier.
Mike, you're traveling all over the world for more than, I would say, 16 years. Your company is operating in, or at least selling in more than 30 countries. What evolution have you seen in the world in terms of technology development and entrepreneurial spirit? Is there places where now you would be thinking of starting your company, like Simone in Singapore, or rather than the US?
One of the observations I've had is that the world is indeed leveling out, even in software. I mean, in the U.S. is clearly still known as kind of the hotbed, particularly Silicon Valley and Seattle are known as the heartland for software. But as I do business with companies, both small and big, throughout the world, you start seeing that there is a leveling of that. I think that the definition of the entrepreneurial spirit that we talked about before applies to all people in all cultures. What may be missing is the opportunity and the lessons learned and the observation of patterns in order to find and create products and companies that solve problems in new and innovative ways. But that's starting to change in sessions like this, doing business across borders. People are starting to observe that, and I'm really seeing a flattening of that capability.
That's great for everybody, because if not, I mean, we're all going to lose a job for the US companies or maybe the Chinese one. So Simone, why Singapore for you was an obvious choice for your new company?
Singapore is one of the best locations in the globe to serve emerging markets. It is qualified in terms of being credible with large financial institutions of all the world. Goswiff is serving banks, central banks, and financial institutions in emerging markets, mostly Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And Singapore is the best location in order to be credible. Second, Singapore is a strong pool for technology talents in terms of quality and quantity. Universities are growing in terms of credibility and also number of say people that can be immediately included in teams. And third, there is a significant financial and economic support by governments. So the government and the investment fund are following, supporting, and sponsorship entrepreneurship activities, especially the one that are focusing on export. So it's a great location where to serve emerging markets.
And there's good fiber. And
there is a very good fiber, like everywhere in Asia, but in particular is the center in the center of Asia. So actually, the atmosphere is great, and the energy as well.
Okay. Maybe a personal question for you. So I'm coming back to Itay. You were speaking about the romantic attraction to be an entrepreneur. Is not for money that you've decided to become an entrepreneur? I mean, we see all those rock stars that are now the new entrepreneurs in the US. I mean, they're all rich. Maybe all of you, you're super rich already. And you've decided to do that for the money, no?
Definitely not.
Ah.
I think if you're in it for the money, this is not the profession for you.
Why?
Because, well, the success cases you mentioned, I think, attract more people to the profession. I think that it gives people more hope and maybe a perception that they have a better chance to succeed. But I think overall money is not the reason, because for two reasons. One, I would say cashing out of a new venture today is much, much longer than it used to be 10 years ago. So when you start a company, you will cash out probably, in the best case, after 6 or 7 years. And also, the amount of pain and struggle and difficulties that you have to take as an entrepreneur is insane. It's just insane. There is absolutely no reason to go through all this unless you have that passion. And of course, you can learn it along the way. You can like the game as you play it, as you are forced to play it. And that was the case in my situation.
And I think that is maybe also one of the reasons why Israel is so good in creating new entrepreneurs is for you, for what I've seen, Noam, is the fact that the Israeli culture is very supportive of the entrepreneurs, because you're right. I mean, starting a business, you feel alone. And whereas in Israel, I've got the feeling that when you start a business, you're surrounded by a lot of people helping you, the business angel, and people give back.
Yeah, it's huge. Like it's like a country-sized support group for starting a business. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. In Hong Kong, if you join a startup, people think you're insane. They think you went out of your mind. In Israel, your genius does not count unless you work for a startup. That's the comparison that I make.
Yeah. And do you see that that support? In your experience, I mean, Mike, you've been doing that for 15 years now as an entrepreneur. And is it hard to be an entrepreneur? I mean, do you feel alone? Do you have people helping you? Or which advice would you give to new entrepreneurs here on the scene when they start, not to be alone?
I think you first have to decide that it's for you. So you have to decide you're a builder, that you're willing to step up and deal with all the issues that you would face as an entrepreneur. And once you decide that, then your job is to expand your vision to include others. Find experts, find colleagues, find customers. And that's all about explaining your vision and convincing others to join you in that vision.
Mm-hmm. Simone, coming back to your role as an entrepreneur, you're very involved, as for you, on all the social side of entrepreneurship. Why are you doing that?
In general, say we as a company, we believe that serving, being active in mobile payment, we can be strongly supportive for financial inclusion and for the provision of value to unbanked community, to rural areas, and all the different group of the world that need to still to manage the gap in terms of growth. Thanks to that, we are very well accepted by emerging markets, because not only we are providing a business, but we are also supporting social classes to interact better with their environment. It's a very long journey, but we feel this is important, this is valuable, and this gives us an additional sense to what we are doing every day. In order to do it properly, we recently joined the World Economic Forum, where we are leading the chapter for mobile payment, and we believe that this will be important, and we want to have a protagonist role on that.
Coming back to this entrepreneurial spirit all over the world, I mean, I've got a bit the feeling that it's now a kind of trend to become entrepreneurs, that for young people, I mean, you stop thinking about career in big corporation. However, I mean, there's very few people who succeed, I mean, as entrepreneurs. So coming back again to your testimony as an entrepreneur, which advice would you give to someone willing to start a new business? How do you know if you're prepared to be an entrepreneur? Maybe